Well, thank you for agreeing to meet with me.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Um,
You're my first interview ever.
really?
Yep.
Really? How long have you been writing?
I think the first book was 2012,
Oh.
around there. So it's been a while, but it's sporadic.
Mm-hmm.
It's a hobby, and when a book comes to me, and it takes a while to get through it, and it's been on and off.
Okay, I can understand.
Let's
So
do
the
it.
first question, your series is Animalosophy. What does that mean?
Animalosophy was really just a cute name I thought I'd come up with when I realized I had a series on my hands. The first book was, a standalone project, and somewhere down the line, it turned into a series. It seemed just like a cute name to give it for a philosophy-themed
Mm-hmm.
animal anthropomorphic grouping. I don't think there's anything more to it than that. Just that seemed to be, for whatever reasons, that was what came out when I sat down to write animal philosophy stories.
Did you intend to write, are you writing these for children? Are they children's philosophy books, or are they picture books geared towards adults? Who is the audience here?
Both, I think. I mean, people enjoy different things about them. Maybe I'm even the audience. It's just, I think the kids enjoy the pictures, and they don't really grasp the depth of the story, or maybe as they, get a little older, they do. And, my goal is really that the adults have something to think about, and the kids can, just enjoy the story and the pictures.
Okay.
Whatever level that they're ready for would be there.
What level do you think that kids start to grasp that it's more than just a pretty book about giraffes?
It's interesting because I have two kids, and they just turned 5, or just about to turn 5, and so we have my experience is mostly reading the books to them, and they're very much they started at the giraffe is sad. I'm sad that the giraffe is sad, and that was kind of their level of comprehension. And now they're starting to get a little more advanced, and I think we'll go back to them soon, because you can't just keep reading them for years on end.
Right.
But it'll be interesting to see their next take on them. Stuff like the giraffe being sad because he didn't exist. How could he think that? Would be a little more interesting of a thought to them. I think they're about ready for that.
Does that carry over with your books like The Moribund Mouse and the penguin one, where it's talking about the penguin god coming down?
Right. I mean, I think those books definitely got a little more complex. So particularly Perspicacious Penguin, I felt I had more to say, and it got a little wordier. And I think one of the challenges I really have with the books is I have something to say usually, and expressing it in a way that is simple enough that you can use very few words to express in a children's book is actually pretty challenging.
So what is your goal for the series as a whole? Do you have a goal, or is it?
I wouldn't say I have a goal for the series. I think my goal for each book is kind of what I said before, is to have something interesting to say, and to be able to say it on multiple levels, where an adult can pick up the book and say, like, there's at least one thought in there I should think about a little bit, and the kids can also be entertained, or like the pictures, or have a little bit to think about too. I like having multi-levels going on in each of the books.
Right, and I can definitely tell through through the giraffe book and the mouse one, where he's dealing with the fact that he's mortal, and it was very thought-provoking. I read it and I was like, what?
Right. I felt I definitely had more to. I mean, giraffe is basically Descartes for kids.
Right.
I think therefore I am. And mouse I had a bit more to say, and penguin I had even more to say. And I feel like most people actually can read those a few times and not come away with the main thought or thesis of the book, which is fun. I kind of like that. But for people who are definitely going to be mass purchasers of the book, the simple levels seem to be better, and definitely the less taboo themes, I think.
How is that going to carry over into, I'm going to mispronounce this, I'm going to tell you, the solipsistic frog?
Solipsistic frog.
I was looking for it. I've been looking for it.
Yeah. So I've been working on solipsistic frog for a while, and I'm kind of stuck. And eventually I decided to put it on hold, and I went on to the next one, like you said, is the nihilistic sea otter. And that one is actually completed and at the Illustrator.
Is it?
So,
exciting.
So she's about half done with that one. So it's kind of a slow process, and she has a few other things on her plate. But I think in the next 3-4 months, we should have that out.
And what is that one about? What is a nihilistic sea otter?
I'm always a little loath to just put what the book is about into a simple sentence or two, but I suppose what it's about is,
you can use 3 or 4. It's okay.
Yeah, he's wrestling with how anything he does can have meaning when everything eventually fades into nothingness.
Well,
if everyone dies eventually, or planet Earth is swallowed by the sun eventually, how could the actions of one sea otter have any meaning? That would be the basic theme of the book.
That's exciting. I can't wait for that one. So you were a lawyer and an asset manager, I read, and you were a gambler. How do you go from there to here? What happened in there to make that jump?
Oh, my career path was pretty unusual, I suppose. I started out as a criminal attorney. I was doing public defender work. I was a criminal defense attorney for, if you can't afford a lawyer, you'll have one appointed for you.
Right.
Basically that gig. And that was fun. It was really good. I liked criminal law a lot. But you burn out quickly, and I was commuting, and I just kind of was looking for something else to do. And I had trouble kind of finding another legal job that I liked, especially in criminal law. I didn't want to do anything outside of criminal law. And while I was kind of knocking around from legal job to legal job, I got recruited for a friend's blackjack team. And that started the gambling path, really.
How do you get recruited to a blackjack team?
I don't know if you ever read Breaking Down the House or saw the movie 21. Those are kind of Hollywood versions of that experience. So I had a friend who was on a blackjack team, and essentially they need an influx of people for various purposes. Basically, they get identified by the casinos, and once you get identified, it's hard to play blackjack. They kick you out, they shuffle the deck on you, and so on. So they need an influx of new people who can not have who are not known to the casinos, who they can trust completely, because there's large sums of money involved.
Right.
So they basically are constantly recruiting their best and most trusted friends, and then they teach them how to play blackjack, which is what happened to me. And it sounds very sketchy at first. They say we'll pay all your expenses and you get a share of the winnings. I'm like, okay, I guess I'll give it a shot. And it actually turned out to be great. It was a team of really great people, and it was actually a limited liability corporation running the whole thing, and it all was set up. And I did that for a few years. And right around then, the poker craze broke out, when poker was on every TV, every station all the time.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah.
Celebrity poker. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, celebrity poker, every version of poker you could imagine. And it was a real craze. And I had some friends from the blackjack team who were quite good at poker. And I started playing poker mostly online. And I wound up doing that for about 6 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And now you're an asset manager?
Now I'm an asset manager. I'm a financial advisor, which is really just another form of gambling and risk management, in my opinion. Just a bit more conservative than the blackjack tables.
And how does that lead to picture books about philosophy? Where's the connection there?
I'm not sure there is a connection. Certainly there are, I suppose, philosophical aspects of law and gambling, but I wouldn't say that's why I made that leap. It just was one day, the hard question for me to answer is really, where did giraffe come from? One day I just sat down and started typing out of nowhere. And, the beginning came to me very quickly. The ending came to me pretty quickly. It was really the middle that took me a while, just how to get from the beginning to the end.
Right.
But even that, it came out reasonably quickly. And then I was off the races.
Well, let's do the Existential Giraffe. How long did it take you to write this book?
That one, I'd say, came pretty quickly. But you kind of let it sit for a while, and then you come back to it, and you're like, that's not quite right, but you can't get it quite right. And then, so I remember, I think it was around page 10 and 11, I was stuck. I just couldn't figure out what I wanted there and how to get that transition to the last few pages. And it probably sat there for a few months while I just was kind of percolating in the back of my head. And then one day I had it and I finished it. So all told, I don't know, 3 to 6 months somewhere, I guess. Okay. The other ones actually take a bit longer. Same kind of reasons. You kind of know what you want to do, but how to get the exact phrases you want and the exact thing you want is a little tough.
So then, which came first, the philosophical concept or the animal? How do you pair that?
Definitely the concept. The animal, I'm not sure. You just kind of go through animals till something seems right. It's like a little jarring. It has to be kind of cutesy. You have to imagine a whole world that the animal can function in. And some help with the illustrator too. Erica Missy is a terrific illustrator, and I've done all the books with her.
Is that somebody you knew before, or how did you choose your illustrator?
Before the book, I actually made a card game called
Really?
Reels and Deals. It was a movie-based card game with parodies of scripts and actors and directors and so on. And we found her on the internet as the illustrator for the card game, and she was fantastic. So when it came time for the books, she was my first phone call, and it was great. Yeah,
that's really good. All of your books about animals with philosophical dilemmas. So, do you think that animals have philosophical dilemmas?
I don't think animals have philosophic dilemmas, but we have a lot of cats, and what I'm curious
How many
about,
cats do you have?
When I met my wife, I had 3 cats, and she had 3 cats. So it was kind of like a pet Brady Bunch. We had, 6 cats. So we've seen a lot of cat-based decisions. And my question is, a cat can have a spot for 6 months, a year, and just that is their spot. They're there all the time. And then one day, they're just done. And they're just not going to that spot again. And there's a new spot. There's a whole new spot. And my question is, have they been agonizing over that? Have they been pondering for a while? Like, should I switch? Maybe a switch is in order? Or just one day, just out of the blue, they just go, nope, I'm done. So I think that's as close as they come to philosophical dilemmas. But that's my big cat question.
Okay. That's amazing. I love that. Okay, tell me about where and how do you write?
I usually write on my computer, and I really just write into a Word file, and sometimes even Gmail. Because the one nice thing about the kids' book format is it's pretty, the longer books are 30 pages maybe. Mm-hmm. So you don't need a lot of space and a lot of
less than 1,000 words.
Yeah, and honestly, the hard part is getting the book down to the right size and getting the sentences down to smaller sentences. So it's very easy to transport, and sometimes I email it back and forth to work on, different locations and stuff like that. But it's not like a regular manuscript.
Mm-hmm. And so then what is your editing process like? How many revisions do you go through?
It's pretty endless. Honestly, like even when the pages are coming in from the illustrator, I'm like, I just don't like this sentence. And then you try to fix it, and it doesn't work. And you kind of have to get up and walk away and then come back with fresh eyes like a week later, 2 weeks later, or sometimes when I just see the picture that goes with it, it clicks. So I'm constantly changing things.
Okay, that's good. Well, I see that you published these on CreateSpace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're great.
Which is actually where I'm publishing my kid's book, is through CreateSpace.
Nice.
And tell me about well, first of all, why did you decide to go self-publishing over traditional publishing?
Mostly for lack of other options, to be honest. I sent, I wasn't going to win anyone over with the idea just by itself, I don't think. So once I had Giraffe completely printed, I sent it around to a bunch of publishing houses. I thought they might be interested. And I got a range of responses, which were invariably different kinds of no's. And there was either no interest, no response, or at the high end, I would get, this is great, but it's too obscure, too niche, too smart for kids. Which I kind of disagreed with.
Yeah.
Or, I got one, well, this would sell okay on the coasts, but it won't sell everywhere, and we really want more broader-based material. I got a few of those.
Do you think so differently on the coasts?
I wouldn't know. I'm not really in the business, but I was suspicious. When actually Amazon, where I have a cat attacking me now. Amazon is they actually have a feature in there. You can actually see where your books sell, and I think so far at least the answer is no. Things do not sell differently on the coasts. There's definitely a hub around me in New York, and there's a hub around Erica in Texas, but I think it's just because we know people. And other than that, it seems pretty random.
Widespread.
Oh yeah.
What was that self-publishing to? What was that journey like? What did you do for your book launch? Or what do you do as each book comes out? I know you said you had another one with the illustrator now. So how are you going to go into your launch, and then how do you market your products as self-published?
Well, I've tried a bunch of different things. Again, this is somewhat in the hobby realm for me too, so I haven't really given it a full-throated go to conventions, rent out a booth, try to sell copy by copy as best I could there. What I've done is I started with a Kickstarter. So I launched my books on Kickstarter, which has been mixed, I would say. It's a really good tool, I find, for selling your books to your social group. and your connections, right? Instead of like emailing all your friends saying, hey, send me $10, I'll send you a book, which is very awkward. You can put the book on Kickstarter and your friends tend to support it. Beyond that, I found I did not sell a lot of books to strangers. Maybe 10 to 20 copies a launch I would sell to complete strangers. It's kind of buried on Kickstarter sometimes. It's hard for like a casual person viewing Kickstarter to even find an unpromoted work. So I was not super impressed by that, but I still do that. I hired a social marketing person who took over my Twitter account and Instagram and started a Facebook site and did Facebook ads, and all those things felt pretty worthless as far as sales and marketing went. It looked good, and there was lots of activity and lots of likes, but I tracked the sales and it just didn't really add into a lot of sales. About the only thing that has been effective in selling the book has actually been the Amazon ads, and they are very good for selling books. So do you buy a certain number of ads per launch, or how do? I just actually have a daily limit going every day. So and I actually have just promoted Existential Giraffe. I've tried promoting Moribund Mouse and I've tried promoting Perspicacious Penguin, and I've just found that they're just too niche or too scary to get much traction. So I've actually entirely stopped promoting them. But what's interesting is that they still sell some copies, and I think it's what people buy Giraffe and see that I have other books and have gone and bought those too, which is always nice to see so I'm quickly happy when I see sales for those books, because I know someone actually liked Giraffe and went and found the others. So is that why I see that you went back and inside Giraffe you said, hey, here's some other books? That was exactly what. Did you go back and revise it for that as you wrote those? That's exactly what I did. Is at some point I realized I had a series, and I knew Giraffe was the bestseller, so I went back and revised them all to put the series logo on the front and the whole list inside. And do you think that's helping sell the other books? Yeah. For sure. I mean, like I said, I promote the other books not at all. And, I guess Amazon might, just by having them there, certain keywords, strike, but it's really hard for a keyword to hit the Moribund Mouse, right? Children's book about death is not something people type in a whole lot. So I really think it's generally from Existential Giraffe, the fact they see there's other books and they go get them. So that has been effective as well, I would say. Have you thought about doing like festivals and groups like that in the future? I've thought about it. I'm always tempted to. It's just, we have 2 5-year-old twins. We both have jobs. It's a lot. And then, if I run off and try to sell some books, maybe. It's always in the fantasy list, but I think I'll keep doing what I'm doing for the moment. So what do you think has been the easiest part of this whole journey of the books what has been the easiest part? The easiest part is actually an easy question. It's been Erica. She's just a fantastic illustrator. She solves a lot of problems, and it's just great to work with her. The pictures themselves I think are fantastic. I think she does a terrific job, illustrating the books, and then just problem solving and getting the thing through CreateSpace. She's been terrific. So then what has been the most difficult part? The difficult part is when you have a complicated thought and you want to put it into 25-page kids book that, the introduction kind of writes itself too, right? So you have like 20 pages to go and get your thought out there, fleshed out, and transition to the ending, and then maybe have some kind of interesting take on this thought as well. Not just throw the thought out there, but maybe say, well, how do we deal with that? What's the response to this problem? And doing that all in really 30 lines or so with pictures is very challenging sometimes. So, okay, and this wasn't one of the original questions, but as we talk, I wanted to think about this. You currently market this book generally for children. A lot of your comments have been, this is, a little tough of a subject for children, et cetera, et cetera. Well, one of the things I do, in curriculum, and I also do, because not only do I write curriculum for adults, but I homeschool and I write homeschool curriculum, is pushing this idea of picture books as learning tools for older children. Yeah, or even for adults. I mean, I think one thing that also drew me to this format is I've never seen picture books for adults like this.
Right.
It really was something I had never seen before, and that appealed to me too. The trick is getting adults to both pick it up and take it seriously, and think about it, because every adult I see who picks it up on their own, they flip through it very quickly. They don't just, take that extra 2 minutes to read it and think about some of these things. They just go flip, 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 and it's cute. And it's usually been the adult who has read it 5 or 6 times who suddenly goes, oh, wait a minute, there's something here. And I've actually gotten, I have people I know who are like, kind of connections to my social network, but not like exactly friends of mine, who have it as like their coffee table books. And they love it. And they're like, this is fantastic. And I had a 30-minute conversation about your book with my friend the other day. Those kind of responses are always my favorite. But to actually market it to an older audience, I find is a bit tricky, because everyone feels like this is for younger kids. Just take one look at it. And that's their thought.
When do you think Nigel the Nihilistic Sea Otter? How are we looking on that?
Yep. How are we looking?
Yeah. When are you looking at putting it out there?
It's a little tricky with, again, Erica's schedule's a little busy right now, and then we have to get through Create Space and all that. So I would say I'm aiming for 3 months, which probably means it'll be here in 6. It would be my guess. But I think it'll be a good book. I kind of went back. I feel like maybe Penguin got a little too complicated.
Mm-hmm.
So I went back to more of a giraffe style, simpler feeling, which is a little tougher because there's more of a story arc to Mouse, and there's more of a story arc to Penguin. But Giraffe was really the one that people liked the best.
Right.
So I always wrestled with that, and I think I kind of bridged the gap a little with Sea Otter. So we'll see.
Do you see any non-animalosophy books coming? Are there other projects you're working on outside of that realm?
I've joked with my wife about some other ideas. We have an idea for a detective story of a psychic detective who can only commune with breakfast food. So there's a series
awesome.
of crimes with pastries nearby, and they have to go and get a psychic impression from the Danish and so on, and then eventually solve the crimes. And we have a couple ideas along those lines. I suspect that never actually happens, but I kind of like the idea. Yeah.
Okay, well, I can't wait to see what comes next.
Thanks. I'll be sure to send it your way.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.
All right. Goodbye.
Bye.